My name is Claire Benton. Or at least, it used to mean something. I was Dr. Hayes's wife for 12 years, graceful at dinner parties, smiling through medical galas, nodding politely whenever someone said, "You must be so proud of him." I hosted charity events, sent thank you notes to hospital donors, and made casseroles for every new resident who shadowed my husband, Adam. I knew how to smile through shame. But nothing prepared me for what he did to me in that courtroom. It was a Tuesday. Divorce court. A sterile beige room that smelled like dry paper and lemon cleaner. I sat in my best navy dress, one of the few things he hadn't demanded in the division of assets. Across from me sat Adam, in a tailored charcoal suit and a smirk that cut deeper than any scalpel he ever held. Beside him, his fiancée. Her name was Lily, 28, former intern, blonde, muck. When the judge asked for opening statements, Adam stood like he was about to present a medical case. "Your Honor," he said smoothly, "Claire is no longer the person I married. She's emotionally unstable, financially dependent, and, frankly, lost." My lungs seized. Lost. She's been unemployed for years. She spends money recklessly. She's refused therapy. I believe she's clinging to this marriage out of fear, not love. I wanted to scream. Instead, I stared at the woman holding his hand. She was nodding. She believed it. And worse, so did he. When it was my turn to speak, my lawyer leaned in and whispered, "Keep it calm. Dignified. Dignified." As if that would save me. I looked at Adam and said, "You built your career on my sacrifices. I put nursing on hold to support your residency, your research, your long nights. And now I'm the one who's unstable." He didn't flinch. He looked at me like I was a broken machine. Relic. Something to be discarded without emotion. The judge ruled in his favor, mostly. He kept the house, the lake cabin, car. I got a one-time payment, and my maiden name back. The next 3 months blurred. I moved into my late aunt's falling-apart farmhouse 40 minutes outside the city. The pipes moaned when I showered. Mice scratched in the walls. And every time it rained, water leaked through the ceiling onto the mattress I dragged into the living room. My days were filled with old grief and canned soup. I deleted social media, cried in grocery store parking lots, read old textbooks just to feel like my brain still worked. Had no job, no savings, no plan. One night, I found myself outside the city hospital where Adam still worked. I sat in my car for an hour, just watching the glass doors, waiting for him to walk out. When he did, he was laughing, arm in arm with Lily. She kissed his cheek. He didn't even glance at my car. I didn't cry that night. I drove home, poured a glass of wine, and opened my old nursing license file. It was expired. But not dead. I applied to a local urgent care clinic. They hired me part-time. It was humiliating at first, checking vitals for construction workers and kids with strep throat while former colleagues walked past pretending not to recognize me. I once treated a patient who used to be a janitor in the hospital Adam worked at. He said, "Didn't you used to be married to that big surgeon guy?" Used to be. But I didn't correct him. 'Cause he was right. My turning point came on a Tuesday. It always seems to be Tuesdays. A woman came into the clinic in full cardiac arrest. She collapsed in the lobby. Panic everywhere. The receptionist froze. A young nurse screamed. The only doctor on shift was out for lunch. I moved. My hands didn't shake. My voice didn't rise. I barked orders, started compressions, called for oxygen, shocked her twice. When the ambulance arrived, the paramedic said, "She's stable. You just saved her life." I stood there, covered in sweat and adrenaline, and for the first time in over a year, felt alive. That night, I Googled critical care nurse certification. Told no one. I sold my engagement ring to pay for classes. I studied at night. I took tests on my phone during lunch breaks. And after 6 months, I applied to a competitive ICU training program in the city. The same city where Adam lived. Where Lily lived. Where I used to live. Got accepted. Training was brutal. The hours were long. The patients worse. I saw people ripped apart by trauma, inside and out. I watched people die, held hands, delivered impossible news, stood in hallways and screamed into my hands between shifts. But I kept showing up. Because pain wasn't new to me. I'd lived in it. Now I used it. My instructors said I was scarily calm. My fellow nurses said I had sad eyes but miracle hands. I took every insult Adam ever threw at me and built armor from it. Every night I climbed into bed alone, sore and exhausted. I whispered, "You are not done." 2 years later, I walked into the trauma center of Riverlight Medical. A brand new ICU, state-of-the-art, the kind of place surgeons brag about. The head nurse shook my hand and said, "Welcome to the team, Claire. You'll be on rotation in 3 different wings this month." On my 3rd day I got the call. Code red incoming. Motorcycle crash. Male 40s. Polytrauma. Unconscious. We prepped room 304. I donned gloves, a gown and stepped inside. And that's when my heart stopped. It was Adam. His face was bloodied, jaw fractured, eyes swollen shut. One leg bent the wrong way. Multiple chest wounds. The paramedics said he wasn't wearing a helmet. His vitals were crashing. He needed intubation. Yes. I froze for half a second. Then I snapped into motion. "Get me RSI kit stat. We're losing him." Another nurse looked at me. "You good?" He nodded. "Just fine. We stabilized him. Just barely. He was unconscious, full sedation. No family on file. No fiancé listed. No one." That night, I sat beside his bed. Machines beeped softly. His face was half covered in tape and tubing. He looked nothing like the man who once said I was a failure in court. Nothing like the man who stood next to another woman and told a judge I was unstable. And yet here he was, alive, 'cause of me. The attending physician came in. "We'll rotate nurses daily. You okay taking primary tonight?" He nodded. "Good. You're the best one we've got." I looked down at Adam. "I know," I whispered. When you've worked in the ICU long enough, you learn to watch for the small things. The twitch of a finger. The irregular ripple of an eyelid. The way a heart rate quickens. Not from pain but awareness. Adam's eyes started to flicker on day 3. He didn't wake up all at once. Came in waves. First the agitation. Then the reflexive tears from a crushed orbital bone. Then panic. Machines spiking. Breath shallow. I stepped into the room just as he started to groan through the tube in his throat. His head jerked to the side. He couldn't speak, but his eyes locked on mine, and I saw it. Recognition. A flicker of confusion. Then shame. And then fear. I didn't say anything at first. I checked his vitals, noted his oxygen saturation, adjusted his foredrip, and turned to leave. But before I crossed the threshold, I heard a soft, desperate sound, muffled by the ventilator but clear enough. "Claire!" Paused, then turned. "Yes," I said evenly. He tried to lift his hand. The pulse oximeter beeped faster. "I'm your nurse for tonight," I added. Then I left the room. The other nurses buzzed about it all day. "Isn't that your ex-husband? God, what are the chances? Do you want me to switch shifts with you?" But I refused. I didn't come this far to flinch now. Adam had humiliated me in court, left me with scraps, watched me beg for fairness while his new lover filed her nails. Now here he was, incontinent, intubated, dependent on the very woman he once said was past her prime. Life doesn't always give you justice, but sometimes it gives you proximity. By day 5, he was breathing without the ventilator. Still weak, still stitched and stapled, but alert. He turned his head slowly when I entered the room for the morning check. His voice was a sandpaper whisper. "You shouldn't be here." I didn't answer. I adjusted the call button, clipped it to his sheet. "You're here to punish me," he rasped. "Fine. Go ahead." Still I said nothing. "Claire," he tried again. "I was wrong." I checked his saline line. jotted down his BP, and finally looked at him. "Don't flatter yourself," I said. "This is just protocol." Then I turned off the light and walked out. He started talking more after that. Short questions. Rambling half apologies. I didn't know what I was doing. She left me, you know. Lily. 2 weeks after the wedding. She said I was too damaged. That I had too much baggage. I didn't react. He seemed to need to confess to someone. And I was there. A silent screen to project his crumbling narrative onto. But I didn't absorb it this time. I wasn't the same Claire who cried herself to sleep in that farmhouse. This version of me. She wore scrubs like armor. And her silence was louder than any insult he'd ever hurled. One night I walked in to check his central line and found him crying. "Claire, can you just talk to me?" Pause. He was fragile. Skin pale, body thin, dignity in tatters. And yet, somehow, I didn't feel powerful. Felt peaceful. So I sat. "Do you remember what you said at the divorce hearing?" "Yes." He swallowed. "Not everything. You said I was unstable. That I was lost." His eyes welled up. "I was trying to win." "You did," I replied. "You won the house. Car. The narrative. Understood. But you lost something else. And now you're finally feeling it." The next morning I arrived early. There was an envelope in the break room with my name on it. Inside was a document, a medical power of attorney form. My name was listed. Dated 4 years ago. I laughed. Actually laughed. In the middle of the sterile hallway. Holding the paper that made it legally my decision whether or not he could receive certain treatments. He never revoked it. Never updated it after our divorce. I brought it to the head attending physician. "This should be updated," I said quietly. "I'm listed as proxy." He raised an eyebrow. "You want to remove yourself?" I looked at the signature. "My name is." "No," I said. "I'll keep it. Just in case." In the days that followed, I became something else in his room. Not just his nurse, but his mirror. I didn't smile. Didn't offer comfort. But I showed up. He improved slowly. He regained speech. Coherence. His hands stopped trembling when he reached for the water cup. "I'm sorry," he said again. "For everything. I don't expect you to forgive me." I nodded but said nothing. He needed my forgiveness like he needed morphine. Something to numb the guilt. But I wasn't going to give it. Not because I was cruel. Because I no longer needed to. One evening, another nurse burst into the staff kitchen holding a tablet. "Guys, look at this." On screen, a gossip blog article titled, "Top Surgeon Adam Hayes Hospitalized After Motorcycle Crash. Fiancé Missing from His Side." The comments were brutal. Serves him right. Karma came fast. Wasn't he the one who divorced his wife and ran off with an intern? I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I just went back to my charting. The shift supervisor pulled me aside a few days later. "Claire, are you sure you want to stay on this case?" "I'm sure. You know there's a protocol for recusal in cases involving personal history." I looked her in the eye. "He's just another patient. I treat the trauma, not the past." And that was the truth. But in the quiet moments, when I watched him sleep, watched the monitors blink, watched his body fight to rebuild, I thought about who I used to be. I remembered the Claire who loved him, who defended him, who emptied her savings to help him open his private practice. That Claire died in the courtroom. The woman standing here now. She wasn't interested in revenge. She wanted resolution. On the final night of the second week, I entered his room and found him sitting up. "Claire," he said, voice steadier. "Can I ask you something?" He nodded. "If I had asked you for help, years ago, would you have given it?" I looked him dead in the eyes. "I gave you everything," I said quietly. "And you burned it down." He blinked. "But I'm still here," I added. "And you're still breathing." He swallowed hard. "Why?" I leaned in. "Because I needed to prove something to myself." Then I turned and walked out. Adam's discharge was scheduled for Thursday. He'd be transferred to a rehabilitation facility across town. Weeks of physical therapy ahead, months before he could return to any kind of surgical work, if ever. He looked healthier now. The bruises were fading. The swelling was down. His jaw wired, his shoulder immobilized. But the worst was behind him. Physically, at least. Emotionally, that was a different story. The morning of his discharge, I walked into room 3041 last time. Not as his nurse, but as the woman he never thought he'd need again. His bag was packed. Discharge paperwork complete. The transport team would arrive any minute. He looked up at me. Quiet. Hesitant. "I guess this is goodbye," he said. He nodded. He cleared his throat. "They told me you saved my life. I don't remember the code, or the seizure, or most of that week. But I was told. You were the one who caught it. You had fluid in your lungs," I replied. "The ventilator wasn't enough. I changed your position. Made the call to switch meds. You didn't have to." "I know." A long silence. "Why did you?" he asked. "After everything I did. After the hearing. The way I left you." I met his eyes. No hate. No pity. Just calm. "Because I could." He blinked, stunned. "That's it." "No," I said. "It's more than that." I stepped closer. "I did it because you were a patient. 'Cause I took an oath. Because the woman you tried to destroy still believes in saving lives. Even when they don't deserve it." His face twitched. "And I did it," I continued. "Because I needed to prove something to myself. That I'm not who you said I was. That I'm better. Stronger. Whole." He looked away. "I was wrong," he whispered. I didn't argue. He knew. He reached into his bag and pulled out an envelope. "I was going to ask someone to give this to you before I left. But now that you're here." I took the envelope. It was thick. Inside, a notarized letter and a check. "I know it doesn't make up for what I did," he said quickly. "But it's everything I got from the house sale. Lily's gone. Cabin too. I liquidated my savings. I know I won't be operating again for a long time, if ever. But maybe you can." "I don't want your money," I interrupted. He flinched. "Then what do you want?" I folded the letter back into the envelope. "I already have it," I said. He stared, confused. And then quietly I added, "I have peace." As I turned to leave, the attending physician stopped me at the nurse's station. "Claire, before you go, there's something else. Administrative found an outdated power of attorney form on file. You're still listed as his medical proxy." "I know. We're going to update it, of course. But per protocol, he signed a statement today revoking it." "Good," I said. She handed me the form. I scanned the lines, paused at his signature. My eyes caught on something just for a moment. A comment, handwritten at the bottom. "Claire always did what was right. Even when I didn't." I walked to the break room. Sat alone for 10 minutes. Let the silence stretch. Then I reached into my backpack and pulled out my phone. Scrolled. Hesitated. Then opened my application portal. Nurse Practitioner Fellowship. Trauma and Recovery. I clicked Submit. That night I drove home in silence. I didn't cry. Didn't shake. Didn't call anyone. But I did stop the car halfway down the rural road where I now lived. I stepped outside. The stars were out. Dark. Cold. Infinite. I tilted my head back and whispered. Not to the sky, not to Adam, not to the past. But to me. "You're free now." The Riverlight Trauma Wing was buzzing. A multi-car crash had sent 6 patients into the ICU in under 30 minutes. Chaos reigned. Monitors beeped. Blood bags swapped. Surgeons barked orders. And at the center of it all, Claire Benton, now in black scrubs, a trauma badge pinned to her chest, coordinating care like a conductor at a symphony. She was calm, fierce, focused. One of the new interns whispered to another, "Isn't that the nurse who saved that surgeon everyone talked about?" The other nodded. "Yeah, but that's not what she's known for anymore. She's the one they call when things go sideways. She's the one who doesn't flinch." Claire walked past them without looking, into the room of the next patient, the next life. And with every step she knew, her story wasn't about how it ended with Adam. It was about how she began again. Dear viewers, thank you for watching. If you like this story, please subscribe to our channel to receive more stories every day. Share with us what you think of this story and tell us where you're watching from.